Hi and welcome. And so today we have Malcolm with us, and we're going to talk to Malcolm all about his art and how he came to grow his art practice and who he teaches online and why he decided to teach art online. So welcome, Malcolm. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks, Kristy-Lea. It's good to be here.
So how will you tell us a little bit about where you came from and where art really started in your life?
Okay, well, first of all, I live in South Africa, and I've been pretty much creating art and drawing a lot as a child, right from an early age. One of my earliest memories, I think I was about 6 years old, and I was drawing cartoons and um, and people were noticing, friends of my parents, and I got complimented on that, and I'll never forget what a kick I got out of somebody noticing my little drawings. And yeah, I suppose I just kept on doing that to try and get compliments throughout my life. Um, and it seems to be working. And I intended to work as an artist when I left high school. That was in the 80s, and I don't think we were quite geared up to convince our parents back then that you could be a full-time artist. So I think I found myself actually going to university and joining one of my cousins at university who was studying law, so I thought I would study law with him as well. And one thing led to another, and next thing I found I was actually practicing as an attorney. But I kept on with art on the side, as it were. And cut a long story short, I was really very much influenced by another artist, quite a well-known South African artist, and he was a former attorney in the same area that I lived in, but older than me, and he became a full-time artist. And I actually listened to an interview with him on a radio station, and I was still young then, in my 20s, not ancient like now. And I was so influenced by that, and I knew that I was going to be an artist at some stage. Fortunately, my wife was also very much on board with this idea, and she kept pushing me to make the leap. Anyway, I can talk a bit about that just now, but and that's at some point I got into working as an artist full time, and really I'd call myself a self-employed professional for, I'd say, at least the past 10 years, and just worked up to that point.
Wow.
So
that's quite a journey there from, practicing law to going full time into art. What was the biggest struggle that you had to overcome when you started to share your art with others, more so when you became full time?
Yeah, I think my biggest, it's hard to actually pin one down. I'd say one of my biggest issues starting out was trying to deal with the idea that I had to be self-sufficient financially as an artist. So that was a real mind shift I had to go through, because leaving a career, a traditional career, I felt that I had to, kind of prove that I wasn't crazy and was actually worthy to be an artist full time. But that idea was a wrong sort of approach, and I did work through that and got over that sort of issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but overall, I'd say the biggest hurdle was simply being satisfied that my art was at a certain standard, that I could, um, I could put art out there that was of good quality. It didn't have to be the best art. It didn't have to be at a master level or anything like that. But there's always that self-doubt lingering behind that. Even though your friends and family like your painting, will a stranger look at it and sort of give you that nod of approval? So that was something I had to also come to terms with and really put those fears aside. But there's a lot of, I think every artist has an element of self-doubt, some more than others. So it was getting over those. And once that was overcome, it became a lot more fun.
So what would you say to other people who are like, have a creative side, but maybe have never explored that, or are like, I don't know if I can actually paint, or I'm not creative? Because I'm sure you've probably run across those people too, who are like, oh, I could never do that.
It especially came home to me when I started teaching other creative people. It could be anyone, whether some had never painted before. Let's say they were retirees leaving the old 9-to-5 job behind and wanted to take up painting. There were others that had been painting earlier in their life and had put it off, or just people who were creative at something and wanted to try painting. So there were all these different individuals, and a lot of them, each person has some sort of self-doubt, like I've mentioned before, but this really came home to me when I was teaching these people for the first time, and it was really strange to, as a now confident artist, let's say, and now I'm observing people who actually have such fear of their own ability, and I couldn't understand it. But once you understand that, for a lot of people, being creative is not a natural thing in their own mind. They got so many hang-ups about it. So I had to try and convince and show and cajole and encourage everybody to understand that actually you are naturally creative. It's just been worked out of your system from an early age. You start off totally creative. As a child, you're creative. As a young student at school, you're creative. And then you hit that sort of self-conscious period in your, let's say, early teens into adulthood. And then you've got all these other people saying you must focus on something responsible and et cetera, and you put all of these things aside, and it's steadily worn out of you. And it's amazing how hard it is for adults to come back into being creative again. It's almost like they are so taken out of their comfort zone. So, through a lot of gentle assistance and teaching, I've tried to get everybody to just connect with who they were as a child, and to remember that actually they did enjoy creating. They enjoyed painting, drawing, and just creative play, all these sort of things. And then they steadily just become more confident. And by doing, starting at a basic foundation level in painting, for example, artists like that can see they're making progress. I think just being comfortable with progress is very important, and pretty soon everybody is having a great time. But yeah, it's just to reconnect with the natural creative ability can vary between person to person, so it can be quite something to deal with. But I think you probably agree there's always a pretty much 100% success rate.
Yes. And I think too, as long as they're willing to explore that side and open that up, that it's much more easier for them to then learn it and then express it, and then learn it and then express it, because it's a journey. It's not like you're going to learn everything in one day that you're going to need to know. It's just like learning any other thing, like learning how to walk or learning how to talk or learning how to eat solid food. Like, we didn't just start with a big, huge meal when we were born. We had to work our way up to that kind of thing. So I think you're totally spot on with that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you help people, what do you offer people that allows them to be able to do that, to express their creativity through painting?
My work really revolves around painting in some form. It can be oils, acrylics, pastels, watercolor, and so an interest in painting is what I'm really looking for in a student. And so we start off at a very basic level. Even artists who painted, years ago, and now they're coming back into it again, and they've got some knowledge of painting. What I find is that there's a lot of bad habits that were learned, and we need to sort of work through them. And my painting, I guess, is founded in a lot of traditional painting, impressionist painting, really. So I use a lot of those formal techniques as well, but with an approach that is not authoritarian or anything like that. It's a fun process, and it's just a case of each person finding their feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I help them do that by starting at the very basics, just with shapes, and then moving into color, and it gets a bit more advanced as they progress. But I don't want to throw anybody into the deep end, and you have to go straight into the sort of old classical way of teaching, where you've got to sketch a marble figure and it's got to be perfect and all of that sort of thing. It's not a pursuit of perfection. Every person's art is legitimate as it is, and I just deal with each person individually. So I've got a number of courses that they can start with from very basic fundamental level, and progress through in different mediums as well. And I also work with people online who want one-to-one coaching as well, and more direct feedback from me. So we do some video calls, and I do some live demonstrations with them. So whether somebody's a self-starter, they can find something there, or they can work directly with me. And I also do live workshops in my studio occasionally as well, or go out and at local level work with a few other artists. But by far the biggest reach, and I'd say the most helpful work that I do, is actually over the internet. And it's really amazing how many people get so much benefit of just being left alone and working with your course, and then I encourage people to contact me or send me pictures of their work. So yeah, I like that interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important too, is like encouraging that interaction, because it also allows them to sort of, be able to reach out and not feel like they're doing it all alone at the same time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
no, that's
why was it important for you to begin teaching the art of painting to people, and what was it that you wanted to bring to them?
I never expected to teach art, and that is absolute truth. Um, Being quite an introverted, typical sort of artist type, and I think also some influence with my family as well.
Mm.
My wife was interested in trying painting. I was painting like crazy after hours and trying to just find my way. And she wanted to start painting as well and didn't want to be left out of all the fun. So I started showing her some of the things I was learning. And, also my children as well. There was a lot of a big chunk of their education was in fact through homeschooling with my wife, and I was brought in as art teacher, and so I was teaching the kids as well, and trying to until they thought I wasn't cool anymore, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so um, and yeah, I just realized actually, I knew what I was talking about. I could communicate this, and it was important to me, and they were enjoying it. And then I had my mother-in-law as well, and she was um, taking some, impromptu lessons with me, and I just sort of fell into it. And
Mm.
and I think because am totally passionate about painting, and just focused on it so heavily that that came through as well. So it was never a drag. It was always fun, and I was always keen, and and everybody seemed to be enjoying it, and it just
Mm.
got bigger and bigger, and so I guess one other thing that sort of did bug me when I started working with a few other artists, and and that was the actual lack of education for artists. Um, it sounds strange to actually say that because there is so much information out there, but it's a big confusing mass of
Mm-hmm.
information, and a lot of the things that were being taught weren't really helping people, and all I kept coming across was a lot of frustrated um, uh, artists, and
Mm-hmm.
especially people starting at a later stage in life, and they just were not getting really beyond the very beginnings. Um, and I thought, you know, let's actually put something together that's going to teach people the proper stuff they need to know to paint well. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't particularly difficult; it just wasn't being taught. And I just thought, I was struggling to get all of these so-called secrets of painting, and they're not really secrets, but nobody was actually really wanting to teach it fully.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, well, I'm not holding anything back. Everything that I'm teaching is exactly the stuff I learned and helped me become a full-time artist and actually do it for a living. So I teach everything. Um, no, no secrets, nothing held back. It's all there, it's just up to each person to decide how far they want to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of definitely a purpose behind that as well, just to put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can people connect with you, and how can they get in contact with you if they'd like to be able to take one of your courses, for example?
Well, I've got a whole section on my website at malcolmdeweyfineart.com, painting course section, and you can browse through that. I've got some guidance there as well about where folks should start and what they can look at, different mediums as well. And there's a introductory course which you can start for free as well, just to see how things go. So yeah, that's the easiest part, just to go along to the website and find all the information there, and obviously you can ask me any questions and we take it from there. So it's quite simple.
That sounds really good. I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to interview you today, and for just sharing with us a little bit about where you came from and how this whole journey sort of unfolded for you into teaching other people.
Thanks very much, Kristy-Lea. Nice chatting.